So what happens when the engine that powers an entire continent just stops? We're about to dive into an incredible story of collapse and comeback. It's about a place that was once all coal dust and steel fire, a place that had to totally reinvent itself, just to survive. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so for like 100 years, this area, they called it the Heavy Industrial Triangle, was basically the engine room of Europe. We're talking parts of France, Belgium, and Germany. This was the absolute powerhouse. I mean, its coal mines and steel mills, they literally fueled the Industrial Revolution. They built the modern world as we know it. Now, to really get our heads around this huge story, we're going to zoom in on one specific spot, right here, in the north region of northern France. Its journey from being on top of the world to hitting rock bottom and now fighting its way back is it's such a powerful story for today. All right, so first things first, let's really get a feel for just how powerful this place was. I mean, its entire legacy was built on pure, raw, industrial might. What we're really talking about here is the birth of a rust belt. And I'm sure you've heard that term before, right? But the key thing to remember is this isn't just about abandoned factories. It's about a place that was once unbelievably wealthy and productive and is now, well, it's kind of haunted by the ghosts of its own past. I mean, just look at this. The entire vibe of a NORD region was defined by scenes like this. You had these massive iron smelting plants and huge textile factories everywhere. These were the two pillars holding at the entire economy. They were symbols of its power, of its influence. And wow, this timeline, it tells the whole story, doesn't it? This is for the coal industry, which was the absolute heart of the region. You can see it right there, this amazing growth kicking off way back in the 1700s, then it hits this long peak, and then boom, around 1960, it all starts to go downhill. And it was a steep, painful fall. So yeah, the 1960s, that was the big turning point. The moment everything changed, factories started shutting their doors, and the whole economy just began to crumble. So the big question is, why? Why did this incredible engine suddenly just sputter and die? Well, let's dig in. Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was more like a perfect storm of four really big problems hitting all at once. First off, the easiest to reach coal was just gone. They'd mined it out. Second, the rest of the world was moving on to new kinds of energy. And then to top it all off, you had this insane global competition hitting both their steel and their textile industries at the exact same time. So let's break that down a bit more. You could get cheaper coal shipped in from places like Poland. Oil and nuclear power were suddenly the cool new kids on the block for energy. And then you had these super modern, super efficient steel plants popping up in Asia and Brazil. The old way of doing things, it just couldn't keep up. And when the factory shut down, it's never just about the money. It's about people. It's deeply, deeply human. This decline, it plunged the entire region into a serious crisis. Just look at this number, 130,000. In just 9 years, between 1975 and 1984, the region lost over 130,000 jobs. Think about that. That's not just a statistic on a screen. That's an entire generation of people watching their whole way of life just vanish. And this comparison, man, it just shows you the deep, lasting scar that was left behind. By 1998, unemployment in the NORD coalfield was at 16%, even hitting 20% in some towns. Now fast forward to 2023. The national average in France is 7.3%. The NORD region, it's still at 9.8%. Still way above the rest of the country. That gap is still there. But this, right here, this might be the most heartbreaking number of all. Youth unemployment. We're talking about 15 to 24-year-olds. Look at that gap. In the NORD region, it was a staggering 29.1%. The national average was 18%. I mean, how can you build a future for a region when your young people can't even get started? So the social fallout was just huge. People started leaving to find work anywhere they could. And of course, when the young people leave, the birth rates drop. But there was also this huge psychological blow, right? The region went from being this vital, central part of the country to being seen as a problem that needed fixing. Okay, but this is not just a story about decline. This is where things start to turn around. It's a story of incredible resilience because the region fought back, and they built their comeback on four main pillars. So here was their game plan, and it was pretty smart. It wasn't just one thing. They focused on retraining their workers with new skills. They totally rebuilt their transportation infrastructure. They went out and actively chased down modern industries. And, of course, they secured the government funding to make it all happen.
Okay, pillar number 1, the people. Instead of just giving up on the workforce, they invested in them. You had programs like Grade Up popping up, offering practical job training. The whole idea was to reskill thousands of people for the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past.
Next up, infrastructure. They basically looked at their location on the map and said, hey, we're right in the middle of everything. So they built high-speed rail lines, they modernized their ports, and with the new Channel Tunnel right there, they turned this old industrial heartland into a major crossroads for European transport and logistics. So now you've got skilled workers and brand new infrastructure. And what does that do? It attracts new industries. And nothing symbolized this change more than the massive Toyota car factory that opened up. I mean, this was a huge deal. It was the new economy, literally rising from the ashes of the old. And look, this stuff didn't just happen by magic. It was all part of a very deliberate plan. You had government-backed groups like NORD France Invest, whose entire job was to go out and find foreign companies to move in. They'd offer them grants, support, basically whatever it took to convince them that this was the place to be. So, after all that effort, did it actually work? Oh yeah, absolutely. The proof is right here. The NORD is now one of the top 3 regions in all of France for foreign investment. We're talking over 1,200 foreign-owned companies have set up there since the 60s. That's a huge win. So let's bring it all home. What we've seen is the story of a region that didn't just rebuild, it completely reimagined itself. It moved from a past stuck in heavy industry to a really dynamic, modern future. And this quote, I think it just nails it perfectly. The story isn't about what was lost anymore. It's about what was built in its place. It's living proof that a rust belt doesn't have to be a death sentence. It can be reforged. And that brings us to one final, really important question to think about. As the world keeps changing and industries everywhere face these massive disruptions, can the journey we've just seen in northern France, this incredible story of going from rust to renewal, can it serve as a kind of blueprint, a source of hope for other places facing the same tough road ahead?